Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome to Dying Light 2 Ask Me Anything Episode 1. And I gotta say, I really love Dying Light 1, the first game. I played the hell out of it. And then they announced Dying Light 2, and not much happened since. Kind of felt like the game was in a limbo or something. You guys all remember that trailer, right? With the guy running in, what was it, California or something, running the street. It was freaking awesome. And then nothing much. I know there was like a bunch of news here and there, some trailers here and there. I haven't followed anything. So this should be fairly new to me, and I'm excited to see what they got for us. Let's go. I'm pre-ordering this game for sure.
Hi everyone, my name is Tymon Smektawa and I'm the lead game designer of Dying Light 2. Welcome to our AMA.
I thought I had it on or something. Show us what you got.
First of all, I would like to thank all of you for all of the questions you have sent us. It was more than 9,000 questions, so it's a lot. We have chosen the ones that were appearing most frequently.
Old school meme.
So first, the number one question.
Sure.
How big is the map of Dying Light 2?
Tell us.
So this is something we have said before. It's about double the size of all of the maps from Dying Light 1 combined.
Jeez.
If you have played the first game, I think it will be easy for you to imagine how big the map will be. You just take the slums, you take the old town, you combine them and you double the number, and that's roughly the size of the game space in Dying Light 2. If you want to know the number, it's more than 6 square kilometers big, almost 7 square kilometers. But that's a simple answer which doesn't take into account the verticality of the world. So just imagine there are hundreds of buildings and each one of them has at least a couple of floors. There are even skyscrapers, there are roofs,
I'm thinking
bridges,
downtown probably.
all of that stuff. So you can imagine how big the actual space you'll be playing in is.
Oh, that's a good one. What is that zombie with branches on its back? Volatiles already gave me mini heart attacks. I'm worried I will lose my life now.
What guys? What zombies?
I'm worried as well because
them.
the volatiles in Dying Light 2 are even more scary. So the fingers crossed for you. And answering your question, the guy with the branches, he's actually a new type of infected in our game. And I don't want to spoil too much because we are preparing a huge drop of information about our infected that's coming. But what I can tell you right now is that he's definitely not a nice guy. And he will also give you quite a lot of those mini heart attacks.
That's good.
The interesting thing about this guy is that you can actually make him happen, make him appear in your game. So the fact that he appears in your world is just one of the consequences that you can have when you make specific decisions.
Story choices.
So if he really is that scary for you, just try to make good decisions and maybe he will not haunt your dreams.
Also, his shirt says 420. Who is this guy?
Is it just going to be zombies at night or will we see some wandering around?
It's 420 somewhere.
That's a very good question because it touches on the most important rule of the world of Dying Light 2, which is the day is for humans, but the night is for the infected.
Jesus, tell me about it.
What that means is that during the day, the infected hide inside buildings, inside dark places where they can avoid sun rays or UV lights. So yes, there are less of them on the streets during the day, but it doesn't mean you won't encounter them. There are still some of them are weakened, some of them are slower, but they still pose a threat. Another threat that you have to face during the day is of course bandits and other humans, but that's a different type of story.
Seriously.
One more thing that you can do is you can actually draw the infected from their hiding places. For example, if you make a lot of noise, so then they run away, run from their hiding places, and they try to attack you, they try to fight with you, or some other NPCs, some other humans.
You can see the girl in the reflection.
Of course, it lasts only for a short amount of time because they're afraid of the sun rays. So then they go back. But yes, you will still be able to encounter them.
That's a cool game mechanic. If they come out.
Another interesting thing you asked about is the rooftops, and it's interesting because it touches on another very important concept of Dying Light 2, which is that the rooftops are being used, by the people that live in the city to rebuild the civilization.
Someone else walking by? What's going on here?
Actually, you will see a lot of safe houses, farm fields, and additional
Oh.
stuff like that on the rooftops.
Okay.
So
They're
they
living
need to
there.
be safe. So there aren't that many biters, virals, or other infected on the rooftops during the day.
Makes
But
sense.
of course, when the night comes, it's a completely different type of story because the day is for humans, but the night is for the infected.
Yeah, got it. What's next?
Okay, but what about the guns?
Yes, guns. Another question that came up very often. So this is something we have also been telling you guys already. So there are no firearms in the world of Dying Light 2. Why? Because it's a world where the civilization is destroyed, it's gone. So actually no one is able to create like professional firearms.
Sure, okay.
There will be ranged weapons, bows,
Cool.
and something extra, which fit more the modern Dark Ages idea,
Crossbow.
the modern Dark Ages concept. Having said that, there's actually one option you can choose to use something similar to a firearm, and this is a handmade shotgun. A very nice tool we have introduced for you to craft with the stuff you have found, you can find during exploration. When you craft it, when you create it, you can start using it using your
Okay.
left hand. So you can have
like
a
a
shotgun
tool.
in your left hand and a machete or a sword or a hammer in your second one.
Got it, got it.
And it really allows you to combine those two tools in combat encounters. A very
So really, it's more
powerful
like a tool,
combination.
really.
But the thing is that the shotgun, because it's handmade, it doesn't last long. So it can get destroyed very easily. So it's up to you when you decide to use that powerful piece
Okay,
of,
but
of
you
of
save
weapon.
it basically. In case you're
Okay, so
stuck or something.
is the grappling hook still in the game, or as it was in the extended gameplay trailer? If yes, how does it work? So of course it is still in the game, and we have really put a lot of effort into making it a completely new tool, a tool that's better than the one that you got used to in Dying Light 1.
That's cool.
So I think the most important thing for us was to make the grappling hook as real, as natural, as physical as possible. So it works differently now. You will not be able to fly through the whole map in 1 minute, as in the first game. As I said, it's way more physical and way more realistic. So if you need something to help you imagine this, is that in the first game, with the grappling hook, you could
Maybe not
almost
as
feel
agile.
like Spider-Man.
That's
in
cool,
this
though.
game, in the second game, you feel more like a Tarzan. So swinging on ropes and everything. So of course you could say, I prefer to be a Spider-Man than a Tarzan. Good for you, but wait till you see the thing in action. It's really immersive, and it has a lot of uses, not only in traversal, not only in
that's
parkour,
cool.
but also in combat.
So you bring them
trust
close
us,
and
you know
shit?
what we're doing, and you will enjoy the new grappling hook a lot.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Kind of like the meat hook in Doom,
Oh,
maybe?
This one is very important.
Pulls
and
you
very
through enemies and
interesting.
shit.
The question is, will there be cars, vehicles in the main
If the town
game
is
area?
bigger, makes sense.
So the answer is, you will be driving inside a vehicle in
So no,
one
there
specific
isn't.
mission. The one we have shown to you in our last demo.
So there isn't.
We didn't want to spend more time on it because we feel all of our other traversal methods are way more interesting.
like zip
of course
lines
you
and
have parkour,
shit.
and with our natural movement system and the improvements we have
Parkour,
made
of course.
in the second game, you can really travel through the city with great ease, overcoming any obstacles, doing those huge jumps. So it's really very
So
exciting.
no.
And on top of that, we also add the
waypoints.
grappling hook,
Right.
the paraglider,
Oh,
and
okay,
some
okay.
additional stuff
Okay.
we'll be talking about in the future.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So we wanted to stick to that because this is the DNA of Dying Light. This is what makes our game unique.
Got it.
Okay, so this one is actually another question that appeared very frequently. So the question is, how many choices do you have that actually change the world and the story?
I'm not expecting much.
So I don't want to give you an exact number, but I want to explain to you how the whole system works. So in Dying Light 2, you make choices, you make decisions on 3 different levels.
Got it.
So the first one, as you can say, the upper one, the top one, is a number of main story choices, a few of them, which really change how the story flows.
Good ending, bad ending.
What kind of ending you will get when you finish the whole experience.
Got it.
Then the second level is choices and decisions you make inside side quests or even main quests
Hurting
that
people,
mostly
not killing
have
them.
consequences that are contained within those quests,
Saving
within
people,
those
perhaps.
missions, or quite often they also influence the world.
Right.
An example of this is in one of the quests you can, for example, save an opera singer. If you do that, if you make a correct choice, then she appears in one of the hubs,
cool.
in one of the save zones in the game,
Like an
and
NPC?
starts singing. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people will tell you it was a stupid thing to do, but it's all up to you. And this is an example of one of those little details that you can actually change in your world. And the third level is the so-called city alignment system.
Who do you align
with? This is a
with,
system where, based on your choices, one of the factions takes control over specific areas of the city.
Oh, so different
So
factions
when they
for
do
different
that,
parts?
of course, they install their forces, they install a lot of different things that belong to that faction.
How many
some
factions?
of the things are the things that you can use in gameplay. So, for example, if you play with the Peacekeepers, they start installing so-called combat helpers, combat
So you're
trucks
modifying
that you
the
can use while
environment.
fighting with bandits or infected or whatever. If you side with survivors and you give parts of the city to survivors, they start installing things like zip lines and trampolines and other stuff that makes the traversal
That should be
easier.
pretty fun.
So depending on your choices, you can also shape the gameplay space, the gameplay environment, and have a different experience depending on what you do.
Sounds cool. Sounds great.
The next one is, how diverse are regions in Dying Light 2? Will we see fields and plains, suburbs,
I'm
or
thinking
any
downtown
additional
surrounded by
locations?
suburbs.
So as you know, the game takes place inside a city, and it's a huge city, so as all of the huge cities out there in the world, it's actually quite diverse. You can say that there are two main regions in the city, which is an area which is a little bit close to Old Town, and another one which is more like a downtown with
That's what I said.
skyscrapers.
It makes sense. It's kind of obvious.
Stuff. Within those regions, there are 7 zones where you can make decisions and assign those zones to different factions.
Got it.
So, for example, if you side with survivors, you will start seeing things like fields or bakeries or other small communities that are rebuilding themselves around various city locations. And if you side with peacekeepers, you will start seeing more of our military stuff like outposts, barricades, things like that.
Got it.
So depending on your choices and how you assign each of the zones, you can end up with a completely
Changes the aesthetics of the
different
city.
type
Yeah.
of city.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there you have it, guys. It sounds pretty interesting. I just hope it's not like, you know, when they say like you give it to. First of all, I want to know how many factions. Number 2, right? Let's say you give it to a faction. Do you have to like always side with the same faction, or what happens if you give like 3 zones to a faction, 4 zones to the other one? Is it only 2 factions? Is it more? What happens if you give like 1 to each or something? You know, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna have like some sort of an ending, right? It will play part in the ending of the game, probably like who won or what kind of like faction you have which backing you up or something like that. Especially I'm thinking for like the final fight or something, right? When you get like the final boss, maybe like the faction that you helped out like comes out to help you and like send you like weapons and guides and shit, you know? And I just hope it's not one of those like very generic looking faction changes, you know what I mean? Basically like the exact same location, but now instead of a barn, you have like a I don't know, like a shed, you know what I'm saying? The barn is like for what he said for the peacekeepers, the shed is for the survivors, right? And all these places are exactly the same throughout the city, right? Because then I guess kind of like would kill like a second playthrough, I guess, because then like everything looks the same, but like a different color. I hope it's more varied than that, you know what I'm saying? And for sure they're gonna try to balance it out, you know, not to make like one faction more OP than the other, but I'm sure there's gonna be some exploits and whatnot. But I really want to see how many factions, and I really want to see what happens if you give like different parts of the city to different factions. Would that actually change anything, or it doesn't really matter? You can just like experiment and see what's up, right? But then again, this is gonna play a part in the ending, so I don't know. As for the grappling hook, I'm guessing they're like I said, I'm thinking more something like in Doom, like you're bringing enemies closer to you, or like you're pushing them away, or like you're hooking up to them, or hooking onto them, or something, right? Um, and as for the city itself, it sounds pretty big, so no cars. I'm guessing there'll be no waypoints. He talked about the game DNA, so forget the waypoints. There was no waypoints before, from what I remember. And I'm guessing it's really like traversing the city on foot, uh, paraglide or whatever you said there, zip lines, trampolines. I want to really try the trampolines. I'm very excited for that one. So it should be pretty cool. Honestly, I'm very excited for this game. This is a game I'm gonna pre-order because the first one is so good, and I really hope they're gonna come up with this one fairly soon. I mean, we've been waiting for a while, and they gotta take their time. Take your time. That's fine. I'm not impatient, but I really want to play a good zombie game. You know what I'm saying? Um, I really do, and I really can't wait for this game. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Peace out.